Hey Gaymer, welcome back. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Garet, and we're your hosts of Modern Gays. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about playersexuality and its impact on the gamer community, discussing its pros and cons and hearing quotes from some of our fellow gamers. What games did you play growing up?
I mean, hands down, ultimate classic game, The Sims.
Oh, yeah, I love The Sims.
What other games did I used to play? Crash Bandicoot, Sonic, Mario Bros. Those are probably like the three most nostalgic games that I used to play.
Okay.
What about you?
I was obsessed with Civilization.
What do you mean Civilization?
There's a game, it's like a computer, like a PC game called Civilization. It was kind of like SimCity, but olden days.
Okay, I have actually a confession.
Or Warcraft. I loved Warcraft.
Warcraft. I never played that game. But do you know what game I did play that you would never guess I played and was obsessed with? Grand Theft Auto.
I love GTA.
I loved Grand Theft Auto.
4 was good.
What was your favorite part about Grand Theft Auto?
I actually love the radio stations.
Me too, in changing the songs.
Fucking hell, like the like R&B, hip hop,
yes,
like 80s vibe,
and just driving around the streets.
You're driving down Sunset Boulevard.
Yes.
And you're playing like just some like awesome classic hit and the sun is setting. It's just so surreal.
It's surreal. I also loved designing the car.
Yeah, that was
picking
fun.
The colors, picking the rims, doing this, doing that.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, the story was good.
The story was good.
Like it was actually a really beautifully designed, complicated storyline that had a lot of questionable characters and a lot of like gun, sex, violence, and not such great stuff for kids.
Correct. And now we are obsessed with Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. It brings out the worst in me. Mario Kart.
Yeah, I've never seen you so aggressive.
Mario Kart is bringing out the aggression.
Okay, guys, he yells at me to hurry up, Daniel. What are you doing?
Well, because we even though we're like playing for ourselves, like it's a race, right? But like sometimes we'll work it together.
We can do it in pairs.
Because we're trying to get the trophy.
Yes.
So like we're actually like trying to protect. So if you're in first place, I'm throwing like green shells back.
Yeah.
Like trying to get, making sure I'm not throwing red shells forward.
No, I know. But it's actually a good team bonding, relationship bonding, building moment as a couple.
And even as, an older millennial, we have dinner parties with wine
we do.
And cheese and charcuterie boards. And we have a very fancy, little upscale talk about the society and stuff. And then after that, we play video games all together. And it's really fun.
We do. And speaking of Sims, that got us through lockdown and got us through COVID. My favorite part about The Sims was making the two Sims booyah. Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
What is it called? Boohoo.
Boohoo?
You want to boo? She goes, shakura.
And so what do? Just keep click, like, oh, compliment.
No.
Tell them about yourself. Tell them about yourself. How do you had to like get to like a level of intimacy that would allow that relationship to flourish?
The amount you had to flirt and foreplay on the fucking Sims drove me mad.
But now on Sims 4, you can basically do it in like 5 seconds.
Honestly, if that was me in real life, I would have walked out. I would have left.
Compliment.
Yeah, now give a kiss on the
something
cheek.
funny, and then
hold hands. Oh, absolutely not, girl. The whole day's done.
Yeah, but first, for real though, for about 4.5 hours before that interaction happened,
yes,
I was building a mansion.
Yes, we are building the mansion,
and I'm just like full like simoleon code, like getting all of the money, and I'm just like cha-ching.
If you don't know the secret code, girl, we're going to share it with you. Cha-ching, get that cash money. Okay, what I was going to share with you was growing up when I played The Sims. Being in my closeted gay self, I actually tried to create two male characters. I don't know if you ever did this.
Yeah.
And make them boohoo shag in the bedroom. And it never worked.
It didn't work in the beginning.
It didn't work back then.
But I do think Sims have been specifically incredibly inclusive and celebratory of the queer and LGBTQ plus society in general on how much they celebrate pride and how much inclusion they have, especially on gender identity and physical attribution and race, sex, everything. Like it's actually really fun to create characters knowing that you have so much flexibility and potential on who you can create. You can really create someone that represents you well, or you can create a whole society of people that have a good diversity, and it's fun.
I agree.
But now in the recent Sims, people are actually creating gay porn.
Gay porn in The Sims?
So you can use Sims to create movies. People make, there's Sims movie makers out there now.
Shut up.
And they actually create, interactions, and they're filming all of the interactions. They're recording their screen, right? And then creating storylines with all of these different characters.
But how do you make gay porn? They're blurred out.
Because now you have full flexibility in their sexual identity and how you can really form new, interesting sexual relationships with others.
You mean you can form the size of the dick?
No. Well, okay. So then there's another level.
Is this the expansion pack?
No, I think,
girl, it's an expansion pack of your booty.
So you obviously have lots of gay sex in The Sims now.
Oh.
But it's always blurred, right?
Yeah.
So there's codes to unblur it.
Oh.
So then on top of that, you bring that into some kind of animation software, and then you can add all of the appendages that are required. And then you can full on create this wild sex fantasy porn situation.
So what are the limits?
There's no limits.
You can have orgies?
You can do everything that your heart desires. You don't, it's actually a whole subset of gay porn.
So how do we sign up?
And it's almost like a little offshoot from anime. Yeah, it's its own style.
Interesting.
But that's what our episode, no, that's not what our episode is about.
It's about sim porn.
But what it's about is player sexuality. And this idea, we had already had a chat about heteroflexibility, which is this kind of, more fluid idea of how you identify as a
for your
heterosexual person, but you may be more open-minded to having different kinds of experiences. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to identify as something else.
Correct.
So as a player sexual concept,
enlighten me.
Sims is a perfect example. So all of these characters that are designed and created are really just kind of building blocks because there's a structure. It's like Westworld, there's a base architecture of the storylines that they can have, but it's up to you to create the character, to give them their personality. You choose the personality traits, you select what they look like and what they're wearing.
These games have to be do not play unless you're over 18.
They're harmless because it's you can really start to create relationships. It's all about relationships.
Girl.
And families and friends, right? It's
but none of you are having gay porn sex on The Sims.
I know, but they're not going to push any sexualization. But you're the one that's pushing the sexualization. But,
a 14-year-old boy on The Sims is curious. He just taps the other person's face and says, get down and jiggy with it. Okay,
yeah, but that's the parents' job to kind of help control and facilitate and communicate around what they should be doing, spending their time.
Okay, we're getting off topic. Let's get into it. What is playersexuality?
Okay, so playersexual refers to a design choice in video games where the character's sexual orientation is flexible. And instead of the developers choosing all of the sexual relationships or romantic or fantasy relationships that they might have throughout the storyline of the game,
right?
It can be more adaptable. So it's not so predefined, and you can change the point of view of the character through some of your actions and the decisions that you make as a player.
And this is specifically related to romanticizing games, right?
The Sims is a really great example. So is Dragon Age or Mass Effect. There's lots of games that you can play online.
Yeah.
And lots of different consoles, etc. And what playersexual or playersexuality affects is really the flexibility of their romantic situations, the inclusivity of the representation.
Right.
So say there's no gay characters and you want some gay characters in there, so you're going to make them gay. And then also the gameplay mechanics. So what happens in the storyline is much more adaptable, and you can kind of choose your own path, almost kind of create your own ending.
I think it's great.
Yeah. And there's definitely pros and cons that people love it or they hate it for lots of different reasons.
Community, right? I would imagine that the gaming community is huge. There is
massive.
Millions of subscribers, right?
I mean, we're gamers now with our Nintendo.
We are gay with a Y.
Yes, gamers. Yeah. We joined the Reddit group.
We joined the crew. And that's only recently for us. I feel we were, and then we got off and then we're back on it again. People now, even in their profiles on Grindr and Tinder and Instagram, everyone's like, I'm looking for another gamer.
Yeah, because
everyone's looking for gamer companions.
Okay, so someone's into fitness and wants their like gym buddy, right? Or someone's into tennis, or someone wants to, travel, and who knows? Lots of people are very serious about the games that they play because it's fun and it's a part of community. Like we have family that are like obsessed and online on Twitch streaming, and it's like they find friendship and companionship, and you build a whole nother community online.
Right.
And you can also even stay in touch with some people that maybe you grew up with earlier on in your life that moved away, but you still play on like PlayStation and you like hang out with each other, and you can talk with each other. And I mean, this isn't new stuff, but the idea of being a gamer,
right,
in general, then you have gamer with a Y, where you have this identity of like inclusion. Like there's other ways to find people who live like you live, like who are also gay or lesbian or queer or bisexual.
Right.
Like, and it's not so scary when you don't have any other ways to connect with lots of different people.
Right.
Or you're not out yet. And that's a really great way to start building.
It's a fantasy to escape.
It's not to escape. It's to
play the game, but then you can talk to other members of the community, right?
As a gamer.
As a
gay gamer.
A gamer to gamer.
Gamer to gamer.
G to G. And gamer to gamer.
So I think it is really cool. Like I think
you're for playersexuality.
I think playersexual characters, or the idea of playersexual game development is really good. It needs a lot of work.
I agree. I'm on the bandwagon for it too.
But
I'm pro.
You know how I identify?
How you identify?
I identify as a Yoshi.
I identify as Donkey Kong, bitch. Hop on, bitch. We're going for a ride, bitch. We're going to play Rainbow World.
So before we get into the pros and cons, I just want to say thank you for tuning into Modern Gays every single week. We release episodes on every Tuesday, and we have a new Patreon where we're releasing bonus content and additional insight and some offcuts of our chat today. So check that out. It's just at patreon.com/modern gays.
Us gays, we just know how to do stuff.
Well, what about modern gays?
That's easy. Modern gays do everything.
All right, so I have a pro point of view for playersexual characters.
Okay.
We've pulled some pros and some cons from the Gaymer subreddit. And so pro number one, this person says it's inclusive and offers freedom.
Yep.
So playersexuality allows me to see myself in the games I love. It's a form of inclusivity that provides the freedom to explore relationships without constraints. And that was from a member of the Gaymers community.
Yeah, representation matters.
I think it's really cool that you have that sense of freedom, that you feel seen in a game where it's like, oh, I can go on this fantasy and I can connect really well with the character I'm playing.
But you're going to get joy from that as well. It's going to bring you happiness.
Yeah, it depends the storyline, right? Unless you're getting like killed by a monster.
Oh.
Like it depends on what's going on in the game. Like, but it's kind of cool that if you are going on a journey and included in that journey, the developers, right, have designed maybe a romantic storyline. And if it's going to be to like save some princess, Peach, right, you may not care as much,
right,
as you might be like, oh, save the Prince Charming that you actually really want.
Got it. Well, that's fair. Well, did you know that 21% of people working in the game industry identify as LGBTQ+?
Really?
Yeah.
And I have a fact for you as well.
Well, shoot it.
Did you know that 1 in 5 gamers is LGBTQ+?
Well, did you know? Really?
Yeah. So
1 in 5 gamers.
1 in 5 gamers identifies as a member of the LGBTQ+ community.
Who play the games.
In general, gamers, right? So
gamers.
That's
1 in 5.
20% of gamers are gaymers.
Wow.
Yeah. But you want to know something else?
Tell me.
I'm going to tell you now.
Go ahead.
of all the characters represented in a lot of the games today, only 2% identify as LGBTQ+.
Okay.
So another pro is it offers positive representation, like you said. Games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Thirsty Suitors
Wow.
They thirsty, girl. Have received praise for their inclusion.
Girl. Those suitors are thirsty. Derek. Girl, these suitors. All right, go on. Anyway, that was a reference to
For the Love of Dilfs.
For the Love of Dilfs. Go on.
Got to watch that show. Okay, so someone else from the Gaming Magazine review has said, games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Thirsty Suitors have received praise for their inclusive representation, allowing players to engage in same-sex relationships that feel genuine and respectful.
Well, of course, Thirsty Suitors has inclusive gay gamers. Look at the title.
Okay, third one, and this is from a testimonial from the NYC Gamers event attendee. By allowing characters to be playersexual, developers give us a chance to craft our own stories and experiences, which can be incredibly empowering for the LGBTQ plus players. And it allows us to have a more enhanced player experience.
Yeah.
So like you said, what it was like about 20%, 21% of game developers identify as LGBTQ plus.
Right. And you said 1 in 5 people who play gamers identify as LGBTQ+.
So that's about 20%.
So it's about the same.
Yeah. But the game players, like the actual characters, are not really well represented because only 2% of those characters that are made in modern games today identify as LGBTQ plus.
So the scales aren't aligned.
It's not aligned. So
we're 18% off.
A lot of people who are kind of against playersexual characters is that they think it's not good enough.
Why not?
Because it's like it's not enough representation. So when you think about like a storyline in some of these films, right?
Yes.
And some of these incredible games, because these games are like mini films, right?
Right.
You connect with that character because
for the storyline.
They're so human. They're so authentic. There's so much depth and value on what makes them them.
Right.
And that includes potentially, if there's like a love story, their sexual identity, their gender identity, what they're into, what their how they act, how they talk, who they have relationships with. You really get to know them on a complex, rich level so that you can connect with them and give a shit about them as a character and go on this whole like story arc. Right? So if you have a character and their core identity is flexible and you can flex them one way or the other, then there might be some inconsistencies in their behavior and what they do, and it doesn't make full sense. Like I was reading online while I was getting some of these quotes together, someone said that they were trying to force a character to flirt with another male. Like so it was a male character that they were playing and they were trying to force him to flirt with this other guy and they just weren't into it and it wasn't happening, but they were like kind of giving a little bit, like they flirted it back a little bit. So there was some kind of hope that it could actually develop, but it never developed. And
why didn't it develop?
It was always kind of like a coy kind of little situation. But then eventually the person playing this character just outright asked like, let's have sex.
Wow.
And the character responded back to the character that he was playing that he was like, oh, you don't have the right parts that I like to play with.
So wait, let me just clarify this because I'm a new gamer. Is this an actual game that has been created and 2 contestants are playing this? Or is it actually...
What contestants? Who's the
gamers, the players. Or are they actually like...
Oh my God.
Listen to me, Linda. Or are they actually...
to Mario Kart.
Listen, girl. Or are they just... Are the 2 people playing the game manipulating the storyline?
Okay, so when you are a gamer, you are playing a character.
Yes.
In a video game.
Yeah, but what you're saying
going on a storyline.
Got you. But the storyline wasn't allowing those 2 gamers to
develop 2 gamers, it's just one gamer. So this one gamer is playing a character
with the computer.
With the
opponent.
With CPU 1. And it's basically the game wasn't allowing him to adjust the character's sexuality.
Right.
And he was frustrated at first because he had played many other games where you could have this player sexual character and you can make them a bit more adaptable. but then he couldn't get this one character to be flexible, and he got frustrated. But then at the end, he actually had a revelation where he felt that he was really happy that he wasn't able to shift the character's sexuality, because it made for a really authentic experience where he got to know the quirks and the specific nature of that other character that he was playing alongside of.
Right.
You know, so, because even when you're playing a character, like, yes, it's a video game. Like, it's all fantasy. It's just make up, right? Made believe, right?
Yeah.
But as you're playing it, and as people in the gamer community,
you get invested.
You get really invested into your character and how you're playing in these games and these other people that exist within these video games, and they have their own personalities, and you actually kind of form some kind of relationship with them, even though they're not actual real people. There is this sense of, like, you know, genuine empathy for them and connection for them.
Sure, but it should be up to the player, because, like, you know, if it was up to me, I would love every game to be playersexual. It should be up to the person playing the game.
Okay, well, let me share some cons.
Okay, go. Another con.
Okay, so these are 3 cons from some of the gamers, right? So this is a critique from a Reddit discussion. While playersexuality is a step in the right direction, it often feels like a superficial fix. The characters lack depth and don't truly represent the complexities of LGBTQ plus identities.
Rude. Girl, you need to go.
Why?
Girl, not complex and basic, bitch, she's calling us. Girl.
No, you're misunderstanding.
Read it again.
They're basically saying that the characters that are playersexual
are not complex.
Aren't developed enough by the developers of these games to allow rich complexity in their character, because you are adapting them too much.
Okay,
as a
I
player.
take it back. But my point is still rude. Okay. But the reason why they probably haven't developed them is because the developers who are creating the games are probably just a bit fearful to go all the way. We as LGBTQ plus people are fucking the most complex people, I think, in the world.
Well, maybe a part of it is obviously focused around the capitalistic nature of games and the monetary value of, like, what will happen if they potentially make all gay characters in a game.
Right.
Because you still have 80% of the market, right? 80% of gamers out there are not gamers.
Correct.
So you have this maybe fear that if they include too obviously a main character who is maybe bi or heteroflexible or just gay or any other kind of identity that's not a straight white male, that there won't be as many people into buying the game and they won't make as much money.
Okay.
There's lots of developers out there that are taking big risks and putting really great, you know, characters in it, but not that many.
Lot. Yeah.
Okay, another one. This is from a comment from the gamers community on Reddit as well. There's a fine line between inclusivity and tokenism. Sometimes playersexual characters seem like they're just there to tick a diversity box rather than being an integral part to the story. So it seems like maybe it's a quick fix. Maybe it's like, okay, we need more inclusion in our games. Let's just, like, allow a bit more adaptive choices in who they can become based on who's playing it, because we want to make everyone at home happy.
A bit more inclusive. I could see that.
But it can maybe feel like it's tokenized, where it's
But then if it's really tokenized and it's not done well, then it's not going to align with the storyline, right? Which is what we were kind of saying before.
Yeah, or it's inauthentic, because someone else said that the problem with playersexuality is that it can come across as inauthentic. We need more characters with well-developed backgrounds and stories that genuinely reflect LGBTQ plus experiences. So there's not enough backstory. Like, my aunt, who is an acting coach, who I'd love to have on the show to talk about just building your own character and confidence and saying, fuck it.
Yeah.
When you are building a character
for a scene or for a movie,
or for a video game, because these are big stories, you need to be coming from someplace. If you're not a point of view, if you're not coming from someplace, then the character was not just born in that second. It had a whole life before you got to interact with that person or that character. So before you even met that character in a video game or seen that character in a film,
something would have happened before that. They lived
a whole life, right? If they're 30 years old, they had 30 years of life before that. You as an actor or as a director, or as a game developer, need to think about all of that time before. Like, who are they? What are the experiences in their life that built them up to that moment? And then also like what were the moments right before that, right? Or like within like the last few days or few hours or whatever it was. So I think that's what I'm talking about when some people of these gamers are saying
something's missing.
Where is the full, authentic, real richness of a queer or LGBTQ plus character's life? Not just like one that just pops up and you can have sex with it.
Right.
You know?
I like it. I actually really agree with that statement because I think even as humans, right, we escape to the video game world, but it really is another reflection of us and who we are and our representation of our life. So it should mirror that in gaming.
I don't know. Now that like we've talked through some of this, I think that player-sexual characters
should be included more, but need some development.
Yeah, like I feel like it's a great start. And it's not new. Obviously, The Sims have been doing it for a very long time. And
I love The Sims.
You know, but genuinely, if we just rely on player-sexual characters, there won't be enough development of queer stories within video games.
Like how fun would it be to have a gay Mario Kart driving and winning the freaking race?
Oh, like a RuPaul version. Like look at Monopoly, right? There's like 100 million versions of Monopoly, but the real most authentic version of Monopoly
you can't go
is
wrong.
Its first one.
Okay, I get it.
I don't know. I think that if we worked on creating new games, like RuPaul started her own game and it was the SmackDown for the Crown. And it was this whole like lip singing like off with Silky Nutmeg Ganache. And that was fun because like I can see that turning into another board game or some other kind of game on Nintendo Switch. Like let's create more gay stories. Let's create more gay games. Let's create more representation within the fun gaming experiential space. And even when we're dealing with like Apple Vision Pro, like it's a whole nother world that we can create around representation. Like you can actually look into Gag City and go visit Gag City and Nicki Minaj is there waiting for you to welcome you gay. Like, oh, welcome gays.
Or be watching Sims unblurred,
unfiltered gay Sims porn.
Or you just see me like walking down the catwalk and you'd be like, babe, what game are you playing? I'm like, I'm playing RuPaul. And I'm like lip syncing against Trinity the Tuck.
Oh my God.
That would actually be really fun.
Well, this whole chat has inspired us to maybe play another go at The Sims.
I think we might. I think it's Sims times, darling.
That's okay. I'll build the house and you can create as many.
I'll do the aftermath.
Woohoos that you. Woohoo. It's called
a woohoo. It is a woohoo.
Yeah. You woohoo and I'll build some architectural gems.
That's a perfect match.
Okay. Well, until next week, everyone, keep building the vibrant life you want by owning your authentic self.